Am I the a-hole for not returning my engagement ring after my fiancé passed away? I, 31 female, recently lost my fiancé, 37 male, Jake. We've been together for 6 years, and his death was unexpected and I'm still mourning. At a funeral, which I arranged and paid for, his brother, 32 male, Jim, asked me when I'm going to return the engagement ring to the family. For context, the engagement ring with which Jake proposed is an ancient family heirloom. It's a gorgeous ring, but what makes it priceless is the story behind it. Jake got the ring from his grandma a month after we started dating, as he claimed he knew back then he would marry me someday and wanted to get his grandma's blessings on the ring. When he proposed, his grandma already passed away, so having the blessings put on the ring made it extra special for the both of us. I asked Jim if he's serious, to which he said yes. Apparently, his long-term girlfriend Stacy saw the ring a while ago and fell in love with it and the story behind it, so she kept nagging him to get her something similar, which he couldn't. He figured since I can no longer marry Jake, he can propose to Stacy with it. I told him that he is rude, that the ring was blessed especially for Jake and I in mind. And even if that wasn't the case, bringing it up during Jake's funeral is incredibly disrespectful. After the funeral, I got a message from Stacy saying it would mean the world for her to be the new owner of the ring, and I could always think of her and Jim's wedding as the bittersweet ending to my relationship. She said the ring was blessed, so one of the grandsons can marry the love of his life. And since Jim is the only living grandson left, he has a claim to it. I just blocked her. My ex-mother-in-law also reached out to me and said that although she understands my pain, I can't keep the ring since it's a family heirloom, so I should suck it up and give it to Jim. I snapped and told her no. The ring is staying with me and following me to the grave if need be. It's a beautiful symbol of Jake's love, and I won't let Jim and Stacy sully the memory of him. The ring is legally mine, so all they can do is cry about it and be bitter. They keep harassing me on social media saying I'm a bad person, and that I stole the family heirloom to spite Jim and Stacy out of jealousy, but I ignore them. Today I met up with my brother and he said that although Jim's approach was highly inappropriate, I'm being selfish for keeping the ring as a keepsake. I could always wear different jewelry that Jake bought me in his memory, but they could never replace an heirloom that's been in their family for generations. I'm now back home and I can't stop thinking about it. Up until this point, I was sure I did everything right, but maybe I'm just being blinded by my grief. A friend suggested I ask for an objective opinion and recommend this place. So, am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments before reading the little update. Since you paid for the funeral and they didn't, offer to sell them the ring back for the cost of the funeral. If you're not family entitled to keep the heirloom in their opinion, you shouldn't have had to pay for the funeral expenses. The brother was an a-hole to ask for it at the funeral. Otherwise, keep it. Not the a-hole. Exactly my thoughts as well. They didn't chip in a cent, it seems, for the death of their son or brother. You were family enough to pay for the funeral. You were family enough to have grandmother's blessing. You were family enough to your partner. The ring is yours, OP. The memory is yours. Gift it to someone whose love you want to bless, if you so choose. Otherwise, do what makes you happy, not a-hole. This is exactly how I feel about it. It's not like OP just showed up. They'd been together for 6 years, and the owner of the ring gave it for her. The brother approached her at the funeral that OP arranged and paid for and asked for the ring. That was horrifically inappropriate and cold-hearted. So, in the middle of the funeral, I feel like I can't stress this enough, the brother demanded the ring back. And now, over however many days or weeks of grieving, several people are harassing OP for this ring. The ring given to her by her fiancé, that again was given by her grandmother. Not a-hole OP. Please just block them all. What kills me is the fact his girlfriend says to see them marry as a bittersweet ending to her relationship. If I was in her shoes and with how they approached, I understand wanting a family heirloom back. But they didn't help with the funeral. It was all being extremely insensitive towards her losing someone she loves. I wouldn't want to do them any favors either. Not sure if it'd be grief, spite, or right on my end, but they certainly could have handled that a lot better. Not a-hole. They don't want it back because it's a family heirloom. They want it back because Stacy is shallow and Jim can't spend the money. If he could buy the same ring, they wouldn't care, but are using the family BS to manipulate you. Tacky and disgusting. I can't possibly imagine asking someone who lost their husband for the engagement ring back. Now for the little update. I'm writing this to answer some commonly asked questions and because I think I've made up my mind on what to do with the ring. 1. I met Jake's grandma. She passed away a year before our engagement, and by that time I was already introduced to the family. 2. We were supposed to get married on October 31, 2022. We met during a Halloween party, so we thought it was fitting. My brother helped me cancel the wedding venue and catering since I didn't have the heart to do it. 3. We don't have children. Due to personal reasons, we never planned on having any biological kids. However, we did plan on adopting/fostering after our marriage was finalized. 4. Stacy did mention a couple of times how gorgeous my engagement ring is and asked if she could try it on, but I refused. Back then, I thought she was just trying to hint to Jim he should propose already. Didn't think she was actually interested in the ring itself. 5. The ring is legally mine. In Jake's will, I'm written as the beneficiary. The will was written 2 years ago and hasn't been changed since. 6. Jake passed away in a work-related accident. I claimed life insurance, plus sued the company he worked at since I believe his death was due to their negligence and could have been avoided. I'm currently in the legal battle with the company. 7. I paid for the funeral because I wanted to make sure everything was organized the way Jake would have wanted it. As horrible as it sounds, I was financially well off before Jake's death, and now due to his will, life insurance and company compensation, I'm practically rich. So I had the funds to organize him a really nice funeral. 8. When I told ex-mother-in-law that I'll take the ring to my grave, I meant it. When Jake passed, I considered joining him a couple of times before finally starting going to therapy. I don't think I'll ever date or get engaged again. It's too painful. 9. As for my decision, I would rather wait for the hell to freeze over than let Stacy and Jim get a ring. For now, the ring is staying with me. However, I'm considering the following option. Jake has one cousin, 10 female, that lives far away. I used to babysit her while her parents still live in town. I think I'll gift her the ring after she graduates high school and pay for her college tuition using the life insurance money I got. I hope that way I can do right by both Jake and his grandma. They say time heals. Hopefully 8 years will be enough for me to let go of the ring. If not, I guess we'll see then. I'm not telling anyone in his family what I have planned. Let them think they've lost the ring forever. I think it's a punishment fit for their actions. By the way, I lost a comment that said this, but someone compared Stacy to Gollum. I don't know who it was, but this genuinely made me laugh for the first time in a while. Thank you. Next story. Am I the a-hole for yelling at my boyfriend for making me leave my best friend's wedding? My boyfriend, 27, and I, 26, have been together for 2 years. He's a good heart and is normally rational, but his one issue is that he expects to accompany me in every occasion, no matter how big or small. He even went with me to my ex-boyfriend's funeral after days of begging. Now, my best friend got married a few days ago. It was very small, and only close family and friends were invited. My boyfriend couldn't come because of the +1 rule, and he pitched a hissy fit, saying my best friend has no respect for my relationship, and was shocked when he learned that I was still going to attend. He told me that if he can't go, then I'm expected to not go as well. But that is my best friend, and I had to respect her rules. He gave me an ultimatum that either we go together or I stay home with him. I ended up going because, again, I respected my friend's rules. He was angry with me and kept calling the entire 2-hour drive, then stopped. Later, I got a text from his friend telling me he, my boyfriend, got into an accident and was taken to the hospital. I freaked out. He gave me the address and I had to leave the wedding and told my friends why. I was crying the entire drive home and kept calling his friend, but got no response. I arrived to the hospital and asked about my boyfriend, and they checked and told me he wasn't there. My anxiety reached 160% as I kept calling his friends one by one. I just went home, and there he was, along with his friend. He saw me and said he was sorry, but this was the only way he can get me home after I left him alone. After the initial shock, I just blew up yelling at him about lying and making me leave my friend's wedding, and having me literally go to the hospital and freaking out because of him. I kicked his friend out and we got into an argument. He kept talking about how much I love him, thus I left, which is my own doing, not his, and he was just trying to see if I really chose my friend's wedding over him. He then argued that my friend caused this and I shouldn't agree with her to exclude him. I said what he did was horrible and called him horrible, and then went to my room. It was awful because my friends kept calling to check in on him because they thought he was really at a hospital. He said I overreacted and that I yelled at the wrong person. Am I the a-hole? Did I go too far? Info: he has a history of mental health issues but got better the past few months. He also had a recent death in his family which really affected his health generally. Now for the comments. This is abuse. Opie's boyfriend doesn't love her. He loves controlling her. This is absolutely abuse, and Opie hasn't gone far enough yet. Not until she is out of this toxic relationship. Not a-hole. I was about to come here to make exactly this post, but let me add that the boyfriend does not indeed have a good heart if he lies about being hospitalized. I couldn't imagine the anguish and guilt that likely followed. He clearly doesn't care about your feelings or well-being if he's willing to resort to that to get his way. You're not a-hole, but there's really no saving this relationship. I don't care if this adds to the stereotype that Reddit tells people to leave too soon, but everyone else is right. Abuse just doesn't get better. Even if he somehow wakes up and starts trying to make it better, you have no responsibility to him to stick around until it does. I hope she recognizes that. She seems to think it's a one-time thing, but his insistence on accompanying her everywhere is hugely controlling and frankly suffocating. My wife and I love spending time together, but we also enjoy doing things with other people on our own. People who have confidence in their relationship and who trust their partner don't have a problem with this. Her boyfriend has some serious issues and she needs to run. If she decides to stay, she needs to see a therapist. Somebody who can make her see that this is not rational behavior and she should not tolerate it. Not a-hole. This is called coercive control and is a form of domestic violence. You should leave for sure. This. OP, I dated a guy like this in my early 20s. It does not get better. Run! OP needs to be very careful leaving. She needs to find a safe house that boyfriend doesn't know about. Yep. I had a friend who dated a guy who constantly threatened to end himself over things like her forgetting something at the grocery store or not staying home with him when he had a cold. It kept her nervous and on eggshells, careful not to upset the a-hole. I was so happy when she finally kicked that useless a-hole to the curb. Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for siding with my mother when she and my wife got into an argument? My wife and I had our first child around 2 months ago. She was home isolated during her entire pregnancy after the 6-month mark because of some pregnancy complications. We had also agreed that the first 2 months after birth that our parents and siblings would be the only ones allowed to visit and see the baby, and our friends and the rest of the relatives could wait. As soon as the baby turned 2 months, my wife started trying to get back into her social life again. Sometimes she'd bring the baby with her, but sometimes she'd expect me to babysit. Whenever I couldn't babysit, she'd call her mom to ask her if she could care for the baby for a few hours. My wife's a great mom and she truly cares for our baby, but it's frustrating how she feels the need to go out the entire time. One day, while she was out shopping with a friend of hers, I was babysitting the kid, and my mom visited me and asked where my wife was. I told her that she's out with a friend. My mom got very mad about how my wife went out, and she told me I have no backbone for not calling her out and telling her to stay home with the baby. I told my mom I'll handle this, but my mom waited until my wife got back home and she started scolding her. It wasn't a proud moment of me, and I really didn't want my mom to get involved, but my wife needed to hear it from someone else too. My mom told my wife that she is irresponsible and that she should cut down her meetings with friends and stay home to care for the kid as a proper mother would. My wife tried to defend herself, saying how I was always out with my friends both during her pregnancy and after she gave birth. But both I and my mom tried to explain how me going out is not the same as her going out. My mom told her that the little walks and coffee hangouts with her friends are over, and that she better get used to the fact that her social life will now be limited. It sucks, but that's how it is. I agreed with my mother and all that, and my wife is not speaking to me for days. She even sleeps in the guest room now and took the baby's crib there as well. She will only cook for herself and the baby and not for me. My mother-in-law and my sister-in-law have texted me saying I was a huge a-hole for this, and so was my mom. So I should not be surprised my wife is acting like that towards me. You're the a-hole. Notice how you say taking care of your own kid is babysitting? You didn't even mention the amount of time she goes out versus you, but you just want us to trust you that it's different for you? You don't even mention speaking to your wife before your mom said anything. Too bad your wife has 2 kids at home. Hopefully she sees the light and leaves the whiny entitled one. Genuinely hoping she gives that entitled one back to his mother. You're the a-hole simply for referring to look after your own child as babysitting. Yep, absolute he's the a-hole. I'm not gonna lie, I only read as far as babysitting the kid and that was enough for me. I knew I was going to put you're the a-hole just from the title, but good lord, you really suck. You and your wife decided to become a family and team when you got married, even before the baby. Your mom is now extended family. She should never feel comfortable to scold your wife, especially in her own home. And that's your job to set the boundary. Both of you are the parents to that baby. You are not babysitting, you are being a parent. I'm going to assume your wife stays home with the baby and you are the breadwinner. So not only are you interacting with adults daily, but you're getting an uninterrupted lunch break, and even getting alone time in the car and to run any errands before or after work. Your wife is home with the baby completely dependent on her all day long. She has to stop everything for feedings. She can't just take a nap, take a shower, or even go to the bathroom without listening and worrying about the baby. She deserves time with other adults or even just herself to remain sane. Postpartum depression is so serious, and unsupportive spouse increases it so much. He literally went out while she was on bed rest. She probably felt so isolated and alone, worrying if this new baby she was responsible for growing would be okay, and you were out with friends. But God forbid she shops for a few hours. Don't be surprised if she leaves you with your mommy in the future. I hate when part-time parent says they babysit, normally complaining about how the full-time parent needs a break and they feel forced to babysit. You're the a-hole.